Right, I'll do my hold me now. I'm 6 feet from the edge, and I'm thinking.
Creed?
Yeah, that's Creed.
Of all the bands.
It just was on the radio, and so now it's stuck in like an earworm.
They have a tie to Spokane.
Not the original
band,
singer.
And then Miles Kennedy, right?
Yep.
I almost said Miles Rockwell. That's a cyclist.
Alter Bridge now.
Yeah. And he was at the grocery store the other day. Mm-hmm. And I kind of recognized him, but everybody else in the grocery store totally recognized him.
He does not want to be recognized.
But they were cool about it. You know, they're just like, hey, man, how are you? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. You know, stuff like that. And I was like, I didn't know he lived up here.
Yeah, I've worked on his house.
Really?
Yeah. I've inspected his house. And
good money?
Old teammate of mine back in 88, he married his sister.
Really?
Yeah. And he went to Shadle Park here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he got his break at like a Mark Wahlberg movie.
Really?
Really, where he played it was like Rockstar was the name of the movie, I think.
Uh-huh.
And he had a cameo in that kind of a thing like that. Yeah, interesting little useless.
Yeah, see Spokane
bullshit.
every once in a while we pull one
we
out.
do something good. Bing Crosby and Miles Kennedy.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Yeah.
Well, Julie Sweeney from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Prep grad. I'm trying to think of all the other famous people, but
she did a good job with Pat.
Yes, absolutely. You kidding me? I had the name. I had no choice. Hey, let's get this going. Sponsor mentions. Let's focus on Cycling Candy. Cycling Candy? Yeah, Cycling Candy for our sponsor mentions. I couldn't even read what I wrote myself. Scratch Labs, everybody. That's right. Great tasting drinks, high carb options, energy chews that taste like candy, and even cookie mix for you to enjoy. Scratch has it all. Won't give you the sugar rush that every kid is likely to experience in about the next hour. Click the link at Packfiller and start your journey to perfect hydration. Next stop, Untapped Maple People. Finest fuel from pure Vermont maple syrup. Small enough packets to actually hand out at Halloween if you were into that sort of thing. The kids would probably give you a pretty weird look. However, it would power them through the night with great tasting, easily digestible, quick calories for the whole trick-or-treating journey or on your long bike rides. Again, use the link once again at Packfiller. And finally, Athletic Brewing People. Yeah, mom and dad need proper road soda to follow the kids out there in their trick-or-treating rounds. Skip the booze because it's fattening and very likely illegal, depending upon your community guidelines. Grab a Packfiller can koozie and an athletic of your choice. So many to choose from. Athletic Brewing Company. And I do want to mention it's not technically a sponsor, but a good friend of mine, a friend who I've never met, one of those online friends, Lance Hamilton with Emotive Audio Agency. He is the original composer of the theme that I just start right now, and he is also writing us all types of new music, and it's going to be coming over the next couple weeks, so big thanks to Lance and Emotive Audio Agency. You can check them out. There's a link on Packfiller for that one.
Cool.
I
did not know that.
You didn't know that. It sounds quiet in here because there's none of those.
What, no Sam?
Yeah.
Bitch. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, I turned off the porch light. No disruptions from the studio door of kids having their nights ruined because mom told them to put a jacket over their awesome costume. Did you ever have that?
No.
Mom told you to put a jacket on to cover up your cool costume?
I quit trick-or-treating when I was in 3rd grade. Sorry.
What?
Yes. I was not a trick-or-treater. I hated it.
You hated it?
Yeah, I hated it. Well, I'm not a big fan of Halloween anyway, but people like it, so,
Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Welcome to the full-size Candy Bars of Cycling podcast. Welcome to the Packfiller Old Man Edition. I'm Pat Bulger, and we're a few riders down. Tonight is a 2-man breakaway. Let's see if we have enough fuel in the tank to stay away. With me tonight is the guy who doesn't have to dress up because he has mastered the art of the old retro grouchy roadie. Mr. Paul Main, how are you, man?
Doing all right. Yeah.
We have a quick prologue question tonight, but it is 2 questions. So, and now that I know
it's a 2-part question?
It's a 2-parter. Yeah. Okay. Now that I know you didn't actually trick or treat, it's going to really make it very interesting.
I mean, I can wax back.
Yeah. 3rd grade, 2nd grade.
Shit. I can tell you what I wore in those 2.
Well, there we go. What was your number 1? What was your favorite costume as a kid? And number 2, what was your favorite candy to collect? Remember all the fears we had of razor blades in our candy?
Yeah.
None of that shit ever came true.
Or the lady gave you a half a banana that she cut with a knife. Did you ever get a banana?
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah.
Really?
Maybe that's why I didn't like trick-or-treating.
God. My
I got half
parents,
bananas and banged up bruised apples.
my parents, well, my dad and my stepmom, I guess like 2 years ago, were giving out fucking toothbrushes. I was like, oh, that's bad.
We had a dental hygienist at our old house at 902 is my wife and I for that.
902.
They would hand out candy and toothbrushes and a little tube of toothpaste.
But at least there's candy involved.
Yeah.
Not just a little toothpaste and
It was
toothbrush.
Dentine. No, I was Trident or whatever.
You just
Can't even brush your
are
teeth and
dating
gum.
the shit out of yourself. Yeah. So your favorite costume and your favorite candy. You can even say your favorite candy now if you want, but
I
think we've done that.
I like dark chocolate even as a kid. So just like
a little fun size.
73% up. Yeah. So you would only get like the special dark because Hershey's had their they had the milk chocolate. Then they had the Mr. Good bar. What was the other one? But they had the special
Crackle,
dark.
I think, wasn't it?
Crackle,
Yeah.
And then they had the special
dark.
And that's what I went after. And I did like black licorice. Anything that came in black licorice.
Holy shit.
I shouldn't say black licorice. How about just licorice? Because that's the only.
Because that's the liquor
only-
flavor.
yeah.
That okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And what was
Costumes,
the costume?
probably the most memorable was I was in second grade, and I dressed up as a lumberjack. Paul Bunyan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See Paul.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
You
see
got
what
the
you did
connection.
there. That's
And my
good.
mom put like Vaseline on my face and then coffee grounds for stubble.
Oh my god.
And I could smell that coffee the whole time. I thought, I can't wait till I start drinking this. It smells like heaven. But it's probably Folgers.
dark chocolate, licorice, and coffee.
Yeah.
You got started early.
Yes,
and then
I
you were
did.
just like going, I'm not going to trick or treat this year, Mom. I'm just going to have an
third
espresso.
grade, I was Spider-Man, and I did not like that.
Because
that
the
was it.
mask?
Yeah, I think I came with a mask. Those ones, the little hard plastic ones that you had
Sure.
with elastic on the, and everybody would snap it in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely. And then it had the tiniest little mouth hole.
Yeah,
Like,
you couldn't help putting your, and it smelled like spit by the end of the night.
it's
'Cause
fucking
it was-
terrible. And it was toxic plastic.
Yeah, it was.
It was just everybody's so worried about the BPE in their water bottles. I'm like going, we ingested it. We drank out of the
And
hose.
we're fine,
man.
aren't we? Yeah.
Thanks, good. Oh my god. Just two of us tonight. Jackson's likely trick or treating because he's young. Sam is likely scaring kids at random places in the neighborhood because he's an asshole. And Dave is completely probably unaware of the fact that it's Halloween at all.
He's sleeping.
Or he thinks it's like September 12th.
Yeah, that's right.
Me, I'm the guy who firmly believes that if you're old enough to drive yourself to the best trick-or-treating neighborhoods, you are too old to trick-or-treat.
Yeah.
That's my view. I'm sticking to it, and I'm old. Egg my house. The best costume I had as a kid, I held on to it for a while. And I'm going to actually say that the best costume I had, I was in college.
Really?
I didn't go trick-or-treating. Don't get me wrong. We went to parties, house parties.
Yeah, at that point.
I created an excuse to drink too much beer and act like a total dipshit. And my character's name was Super Bulge.
Oh, shit.
And it's just basically when you see little kids dress up as superheroes, they put the towel around their neck and, draw on a shirt. That's what I did. I just ran around like that, like a fucking idiot. And I was a dumbass. And I don't know why, but that one got hilarious. Especially when you had a drunk college student going all around campus going, I'm Super Bowl. What are you? I'm a hero. And so I don't know why. But my candy by far was and still is, I don't know why. I love dark chocolate, don't get me wrong. The flavored Tootsie Rolls.
Flavored ones?
Yeah. They're like lemon,
They're all flavored.
lime, or there's a vanilla.
Oh, no.
It's basically like eating, if you put a flavored chapstick in the fridge and you took it out and you just ate it. That's
You got to cut the
basically
little
it.
lines on it,
Yeah,
right?
it's basically it. They're really kind of nasty, especially if you eat enough. It's just like you ate a candle.
Do they make the big Tootsie Rolls that look like a turd?
Yeah, they still make those. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, not the huge ones. Now they're just fun size. I think they're just regular packets, but
probably.
they're still about size of your thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just. I remember a guy at a liquor store told Jackson once that they'd help him whistle. which was really creepy if you think about it. But I remember he ate the Tootsie Roll and he went, "Oh my God, Dad, he's right." There's this guy behind the counter. Yeah, he's a little kid, and I got him in a liquor store.
You make him put poopy pants in his pocket.
His pocket, yeah.
What kind of father are you? I tell you? What's going on here? Speaking, my wife and I, we went to dinner before we got here, before we even saw our grandkids.
Yeah.
But we were talking about, we kind of forgot that we used to hide out at Benedito's.
Yeah.
And not hand out candy. This is like the first time we're down in our condo, and so we forgot about it being Halloween, and we go to this restaurant and everybody's dressed up. Oh yeah, it's Halloween.
Oh shit!
But I said, this is the best one I saw. There was a restaurant that actually made what's his name? Something Frere. Guy Fieri? Fieri.
Yeah.
That guy that dives dungeons or whatever.
Dungeons,
yeah.
Diners, drives, and dive-ins and dash. Yeah.
So they did an episode down at Peekaboo's, which is no longer here, but it was a great little place. And we went there, and one of the waitresses had this T-shirt. It said, "Go Ceiling." I'm like, I don't get it. Ceiling, like.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I got to ask. I'm a Ceiling fan. Go Ceiling.
That's good.
I liked it a lot.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's really good. One year, Michelle, when she couldn't come up with something, she wore a sweatshirt, like just a pullover sweatshirt, not with a hoodie, and she just hot glued cotton balls to it.
Uh-huh.
And she walked around with a spray bottle of water. And she was cloudy with a chance of rain. Somebody had asked him, and she'd just spray him in the face.
Yeah,
I'm cloudy with a chance of rain. And I was like, God, that's nice. That's really good.
Those are good ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we tonight, you won't. When I said in the opening, you won't hear anything here. Our dogs go too nuts. Especially Bender. If somebody comes to the door, he freaks out and he tries to get to him, tries to get out. And so we just over the past years have just gone, we can't do this anymore. Just screw it. We're gonna turn off our lights. Somebody's gonna egg our house.
Dope the dogs.
Yeah, we should dope the dogs, but no. It's so we're just like, she's upstairs, just sitting in the dark, basically.
Nice.
How's your training going? We got to talk about cycling, and you can tell how mine is because I started with that tone.
Yeah, I did a indoor ride. It must have been Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday. And I started. It was my wife's sleeping up. We're in that loft.
Yeah.
So I thought, because that's some of the reason I bought the Core. It's a lot quieter than the Snap.
Yeah.
And so I thought, all right, I'm just going to have something. I'm just going to sit some time here and wait for her to say, knock that shit off.
Yeah.
And but she never did. And so what I did is I think it's on Systems, of course, but it's the Sunday in Hell.
Oh yeah, the movie.
The movie.
It's pretty low.
It's just like Zone 2.
Yeah.
And so that's all you do. And for an hour and 45 minutes, I just sat there, and she never heard it once. So
no shit.
Mm-hmm. So
you're telling
I did
me
that.
There's a chance.
Yeah, I can actually work out while that was my biggest fear, is that I'm screwed.
Is she a naturally light sleeper?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's the problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Almost. But I create white noise. I've got two fans going.
Yeah. I have that. I can't say the name. It's the Amazon-based device next to my bed. And there are nights when I just need a little white noise. And so I'll tell her to turn it on and say, play brown noise. And
brown noise?
Brown noise.
What's the difference between that and white noise?
Brown is a little deeper, a little more bass. They're different. Every shade of color is a different tone. Yeah.
So maybe I've got blue noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it's
I don't know, because it's a fan hum. That wouldn't be white, would it?
I don't know.
What's the end rate? So
Alexa,
talking about
play brown noise. See if you play it loud enough.
It's like wind.
Yeah. Alexa, play blue noise, if there is.
Deep blue noise by relaxing noises from
Oh
Spotify.
no. It's music. Oh no.
That's a little higher.
Yeah. That's more like a fan.
Yeah.
So she's
Alexa, stop. Yeah, that's what I do when I need to sleep. I should have actually ran that. I should have.
Oh,
so it was on you the whole time. But yeah, no, I use that all the time, and it's great. And so you could probably do like if you have loud enough, you could do an interval workout. There you go. Oh, I think I've hit a wall already.
Really?
It's November 1st. I did 3 rides on the bike this week. I was supposed to do some strength training, and I don't know why. Every strength training morning, the alarm went off. I'm sleeping for another hour, and I'm already
it's dark out.
I think it's because it's dark outside, because it's colder outside, and you wake up and it's just like, oh God, it's just and I'm in my October/November. I really don't have to panic about this stuff until later in the year, and those kinds of things. And so I will admit, I mean, I did 2 interval rides throughout the week, and then Sunday, kind of like you, I did 2 hours. But I had to watch you thinking of doing staging for the show here at the school I teach at. And so I watched the show, and it was like an hour and 49 minutes. And so I was like, and on the other screen, I put it on chasing cartoons and just rode. I kind of zone 2. Occasionally, when I'd hit a hill, I'd go a little harder or something like that. But I just did that, and it wasn't a bad way to pass the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm struggling.
Well,
already
are you
struggling.
on this? Do you have a program with system? Are you following it?
I do, and the day was hours of regular, steady state zone 2. Endurance, they call it, 2 hours endurance. And I was like, oh, okay, of just a video with no video. It was just, what they say. It's like, we just give you the stats, you hold this number, but there's no accompanying video for that workout. They were like, so I was like, well, I'll just go over to Zwift and ride Zwift and, have some terrain change, a specific number. Stop.
My system today, and it was just the very first program one that they set up, and it was yoga for boneheads or something like that.
God, yeah.
So I did that, and that was fairly easy, but I forgot how tight I got, and then I did an extra one to open up my hips, and then tomorrow I have grandkids and stuff, so it's like I get home from ride itself is like almost an hour long.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how am I going to squeeze that in? Plus, the grandkids get to our place.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they go home around almost 7 o'clock. So
that's dinner time.
And we already ate.
Oh, yeah.
We always eat with the kids. So,
okay.
And that's around 5:30. And so you got a belly full of cheap pizza.
Yeah.
And
I once the is poured, I'm not training.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Because it's like,
because if you ever burp one up on a trainer, oh God.
Oh, you should have been here for the beer mile, man. I had at least some of those burps were at least a tablespoon.
Is there any word from your son?
He's just finishing up the edit on it now, so it should be posted. He told me last week that it was going to be up really soon. So
good.
What's the longest you've ridden indoors?
I think I did a 2 on actual rollers.
Oh.
So, which is...
At least you got I don't know. Because you're focused more?
Yeah, it was watching a movie that was 2 hours long, and, I think that was a year. Nothing bothered me. And, we talked about with Dr. David there about cramping. Yeah. I never had a cramp that whole year. I mean, I was just like, I could ride forever. I had speed. I could climb.
Yeah.
But that was just. My capacity to ride on indoor it's shortened.
Yeah.
The Better Fitness, and it's like, this an hour. It's like, it's only been 5 minutes.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I'm not gonna make it.
It's physically I can do it. It's just if I don't have something to keep my brain going, or like I said earlier on an earlier show, where I'll do if I do a 2-hour ride, I'll get off and I'm drinking the pills. I dismount every 30 minutes. And then would do like squats or sit-ups or something like that.
Man, you must have a greasy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what yoga mats are for.
Yeah. But when you get off the bike, do you have to take your shoes off and do what are you doing?
If I'm doing like sit-ups or something like that.
With the cleats on.
Yeah. Fitball. Just put your feet up on a fitball and go.
Thanks for the sound effects.
Yeah, no problem. That's what
this
I'm
is
here
a
for.
podcast.
Are you doing any? Are you gonna like your stair workouts, or are you just now that you live downtown, are you just gonna go hurdle meth addicts?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, poo! Move to the left.
Poo!
Yeah. Oh. So I actually got pretty good at dodging poo because where I lived before it was turkey shit that was on the sidewalk, and so I developed this natural skill. But now I'm dodging these human poos.
Yeah. Okay. So no cross training.
Possibly, I've mentioned before, maybe getting some running shoes, and there's that. It's about a 2.5 mile loop.
Yeah.
Down by the river, but I don't know what the conditions, and it'll have to take. I got to feel really good about myself to go out and run. Yeah,
but I don't know.
It's hard for me to. Indoor training's hard enough, but to put on running shoes and run.
And I don't know about you, but my first run, if I go out and my first several runs are so, I get so stiff, my calf, everything. I'm hobbling like I have a 2x4 shoved up my ass for the next like 3 days.
That's right.
That's flight. Stairs when your legs are sore is like a controlled fall. You just start at the top and go, and by the time you get to just hope there's something to catch you. So running, I'm not a fan. No. Okay, well, let's get to the news because we're going with this for the news now, I guess. Speaking of Lance, thanks, buddy. Mm-hmm. He's got more for us coming. He says, check the headlines. Shall we? News. So here we go. First story. Wait, what? Wow. Ready for this? Make his Giro d'Italia debut in 2024, forging the Tour de France instead to lead Jumbo-Visma, although it won't be Jumbo-Visma, it'll be Jumbo...
Visma Lisa Bike.
Visma, okay, Lisa Bike. At the Italian Grand Tour and then prepare for the Paris Olympic road race and time trial. The team believes that Van Aert can top 5 in the general classification next May, according to a report. Cosa Rosa includes 20% less climbing than in recent years, with the 2 time trial stages giving him a chance to potentially climb on key rivals. Race the Tour de France, taking on the race 5 times during his career. The pervy pills is kicking in. He's set for change in 2024 with the Giro on his list for the season, along with the Spring Classics, Paris Olympic Games, and the World Road Championships in Zurich. I'm trying to see if there's anything more, but as this is unofficial, this is just purely mostly speculation. It hasn't been officially confirmed by his team yet. What do you think? Is he a serious Grand Tour contender, or is this just,
I think I don't know. If there's a course that's gonna probably help him, I don't see 20%. Him winning.
Yeah,
I think he could be up there in GC in the top 10. I know that it sounded like the RCS was trying to set up a route that brought in Tadej Pogačar, and so I think in doing so they brought Wout, which is not a bad second.
Yeah.
In my opinion, what you want people to watch, I'm I watch anyway, but now I'm a Wout fan. I really am.
Yeah,
And
it seems like a weird decision. It seems like something at will be formerly known as Jumbo-Visma is like, well, we lost Primoz, so, But then the first thing that popped into my head was like, why aren't you declaring Sepp Kuss as potential a Giro contender? It just seems like a weird call. If that is indeed the call they're choosing to make.
Yeah, it's probably pretty early. They'll probably see how things go.
Yeah. What do you think it's going to do to his classics fitness? I mean, you're training for something.
I think
like
he could do. I think he can do both. I don't know what his intentions are. I'm sure he could do high on the GC, but to win the GC, if that's his intention, he's going to have to lose some poundage.
Yeah.
And that would hurt his classic. So if that is really his goal, or whether to participate in the first Giro and just, screw people over, which he can.
Yeah.
So
just screw shit up and just have fun.
Yeah.
And who knows? I don't know about the marketing potential of professional cycling, but sometimes winning multiple stages could be far more of a profitable endeavor than third on the podium.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep thinking of, Geraint Thomas had an amazing Giro, but in the record books, he didn't win it. And so, or Remco in Spain. Remco he had that bad day, but then he went out and made headlines constantly. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe that's a tactic that could work with that type of an idea. And somebody online, of course, posted that Wout is potentially bothered by the fact that Mathieu van der Poel is sweeping up the classics or something like that. But I'm like, I don't think the guy's scared of him. They've known each other for too long. They each know how each other tick.
Yeah.
But after being competitors this long, and I don't think there's an ounce of concern.
That's going on, predicated on that those two only race to beat the other guy.
Yeah, yeah.
I think both of them have their own agenda, and I heard you're probably going to cover it.
No.
But Mathieu van der Poel is going to do more mountain bike races through the year.
No, I'm not going to report on that. But that
so
the current reigning world champion is going to focus on mountain biking.
Yeah, and his focus is the Olympics.
Bullshit. That's bullshit.
So
I don't like that.
I don't like the guy anymore because he said that road cycling is overrated.
Yeah,
he's
that's
dead
true.
to me. He's dead. Well, screw him.
So with all the transfers beginning to solidify and the contracts being established, and there is almost a passing of a generation that is slowly starting to happen. We're seeing the retirement of a lot of the old guard, which I can't believe I'm saying because they're not really that old. But I figured we'd get a chance to see who's holding on and the riders who are getting up there in years and see who is holding on and what we think they could maintain or maybe achieve within this next year. And obviously, some of the names that are going to come up in this one. So in our list of 7 riders, our first, obviously, at the top is Geraint Thomas, who has signed 2 more years with Ineos. Geraint, I don't have his age listed here. I think he's
37. Yeah, I think 38, 37.
And we did mention this probably in one of our last shows. What would... a Grand Tour very likely might be out of the question for him just because of the level of where everything's going. I mean, unfortunately, the years aren't kind, even at 37. But what would be good goals, in your opinion, for somebody like Geraint, other than just being a mentor and,
Yeah, I don't know. I know he likes the classics. He's won E3, and he does well on those, but I don't think that's why they contracted him out.
Yeah.
The Grand Tours is what they're after. So I've always questioned, back talking about being old, Greg LeMond, when he was doing classics, because he's done well in the classics, but he goes, I don't get paid to win classics. I get paid to win the Tour de France.
Yeah.
So I think going on possibly with Geraint. I don't know.
Something along the realm of a Tour Switzerland, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see him go out with something good, something that he could really, kind of wrap his hands around, call it a career with. Just because
I'm
he's
going to push
guy.
pause on. What are your opinions of Tour Switzerland?
The 1 weekers,
the 1 weekers.
Tirreno Adriatico,
and
stuff
Paris
like
Nice.
that. I like them.
They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
But do you ever, when you think about somebody, they're like, "Hey, that guy's twice." Come to
What
mind.
immediately pops into my head is Sean Kelly winning
He
it
was
7
7.
times. Yeah,
Was it in a row? 6 in a row?
I
7.
don't remember. I would. Yeah, I think there are riders throughout history who could have had really good careers at those 1 week races.
Remco's one of them. He can prove it. I mean, he can do it 1 week.
Yeah,
We haven't seen a Grand Tour yet.
I think Bobby
Well,
Julich
no, he did one
would have been
for a
really
time,
good at it.
but
I think Bobby would have had a really
prestigious enough. I mean, classics
Yeah.
are.
It doesn't have the
It's
same.
enough. I mean, classics
Yeah.
are.
It doesn't have the same. And I guess teams want more than Tirreno Adriaticos and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Next rider, Mark Cavendish, in an interview that his 1 more year concept is likely not a good idea. He said along the lines of the commitment, along the fact that sprinting is a young man's game, a young person's game, and that he doesn't know if Mark has achieved something like that. A little bit. What do you think?
I think he can do well. I don't think this year's tour's cut out, and he even said that's the hardest tour he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
What do you do? I mean, he's gonna have to hang on because there's mountains early. He's got to make his time cut. He's gonna, what is it? I think 6 stages before a sprint. Maybe it's 5 stages before. Something like that before the sprinters could actually a true sprinting stage. Part
of me is under the I'm split on the entire idea. Is that number one, you have the record with arguably the greatest cyclist ever to straddle a top 2. Not arguably, very likely.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the desire to achieve this, to see if you can do it, to say, hey, let's just give it one more shot. But I think regardless, he should walk away with this with his head held high. I don't think they're the same record. I don't think a sprinter and a guy who won the Tour 5 times are this. You're comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah.
I think in terms of stages and the style of racing, but stage wins are stage wins. So part of me is like, go for it, dude. Let's see what happens. Part of me would be a little bummed if he broke it because it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, I battled with that myself, and I was sitting there thinking, but I know, and down deep that Merckx won time trials, mountain stages, sprints. I mean, he's won every type of stage, so that would be in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And still, what an amazing was it 36?
Yeah.
No, what's
35.
the number? 35. They're at 35,
Yeah,
but 36 stage. I mean, tour stages in
That's
your career.
amazing.
Whether it's sprint, time trials, or whatever,
Yeah.
that's still an amazing feat.
Yeah.
So.
All right, next rider, and some of these are going to go pretty quick. Chris Froome, anything at all for him other than photo ops and TikTok videos?
No, that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And backpedaling on disc brakes.
Yeah.
And
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
Nairo Quintana, at the age of 33, has signed a 1-year contract with Movistar. Hopefully he knows that tramadol is really now officially a no-no. I mean, it has been banned by WADA.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like don't even look at the bottle. Yeah.
It's got to be at least a kilometer away from you.
Exactly. It's like making a proper martini.
That's right.
Shake the gin and look at the unopened bottle.
There you go.
So a 1-year deal with Movistar. are we going to see anything out of Nairo?
Well, Movistar has
Very
Enric
little to lose.
Mas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. And then for stage win, what the heck?
Yeah.
The guy's looking for a job. You got an opening. I mean, Matteo Jorgensen is left.
Yeah.
So there's an opening for a stage.
There is.
So, and they probably got him a bargain price.
Yeah, it's either that or, go into the hospitality business, which is what he was doing. So, yeah. Rui Costa is former world champion, going from Intermarché to EF First.
Yeah.
At the age of 37.
He's crafty. I mean, he late in the season.
Yeah.
He certainly showed. I'm not a fan of his style of racing.
Yeah.
He's a sit-in.
He is kind of a negative racer, it seems like. Yeah.
But I think, again, it probably was a bargain basement purchase.
Might have been. Yeah. And we know that Vaughters is pretty penny pinching with his money.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't have a lot of it. So, I mean, he's doing the best with what he's got. Michael Morkov, we all know, 38 years old, to Astana. Let's all be honest, he's got one job and one job only, and that's get Mark across the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get a better guy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. He's just getting to that final K and saying it becomes the tactical mind more maybe than the horsepower. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
A little bit of both, but
remember Mark Renshaw was Cavendish's leadout guy, and Mark said, a good leadout guy is all you do is just look at his back wheel and you just have 100% trust. You need that type of guy. When he was successful, Renshaw was his man.
Yeah.
I mean, he had success outside of Renshaw being his leadout, but his pinnacle was there. And he said, I just put the blinders on. And he just next thing you know, it's time to go, and I just punch it.
Yeah.
It gets me to 200 meters, and I just light it up.
And Markov's one of the best.
And he does the same thing.
Yeah, and they did work together at Soudal Quickstep too. So
and I
there's
think,
a relationship.
Didn't they do some track work together? Because
yes,
so they know each other pretty well.
Yeah. And last but definitely not least, Marianne Vos, 36 years old. That's
all
getting
the
up
power
there.
to her.
Yeah,
she can. Just
I think
keep
she's
going.
got more in her. I think she's got a lot more in her. So.
I think women have a tendency to have a longer career, not just in cycling, but runners too. I mean, you start looking at some of these runners; they seem to really kind of produce. At Jenny Longo as a cyclist, I mean, she was cranking it out. Yeah, Kinda. Yeah. She had some help.
She had some asterisks next to her name. Yeah. But, hey, so do a lot of people.
But you still got to turn those styles.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's jump into the topic for tonight. And because it's just the two of us old farts sitting here, I want to talk then versus now. I want to talk what worked, what didn't, what works, what doesn't. Paul and I have been at this for a freaking long time. What year did you start?
I bought my first true road bike with the intention to ride was in 1985.
Okay.
To race.
Okay.
That was to race.
I was 2 years prior to that. I was 83. I think it might have been late of 82, but I'm going to stick with 83. People our age have usually resigned to golf or pickleball by now.
Yeah.
And so just to begin, what was it about the sport that enticed you, that brought you in? Because you didn't necessarily have. I mean, my parents were the ones who were like, your ski coach says you got to lose some weight, so we're going to get you into cycling. My stepmom had done a good deal of touring and stuff like that, and so that's how we kind of fell into it. And of course, my dad knew Gino Lasecki, who took me out for a 30-mile ride, my first ride, and basically made me cry. Asshole. If you know Gino, you know that's something he enjoyed.
Yeah. What got me into it was, I was a little kid. I was just crazy. I mean, I was at 3 years old. I was already on two wheels. I had training wheels for maybe 2 seconds to take it off, and you couldn't peel me off of it. And I always had probably the fervor for riding, and I always didn't. Where I grew up and everything. I knew people raced bikes, but there was no resources.
Yeah.
This is late 60s, early 70s. And of course, when you get older, I had a neighbor when I was probably in 5th grade, and he had the bicycle guide. It was like a list of all the bikes.
Okay.
That you could buy. And there was one I couldn't pronounce. It started with a C. It was Italian and had all these Italian parts, which later I figured out it was a Clanago with Campanolo.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah. And it was like $500. That was like the most expensive bike. And I'm like, holy cow. I got to have one of those someday. I can't imagine how fast this thing was.
Yeah.
But then, I played sports. I've always been that way. Nobody in my family were sports minded. I mean, a little brother played football and wrestled. But I played football, basketball, baseball, and did everything.
Yeah.
And not until I was 200 pounds, extremely drunk watching CBS sports, and they had the 1984, they had the Paris-Roubaix.
Yeah.
And I watched that, and I thought, oh, man.
No shit. You
That
just
was it.
found that randomly.
Yeah, I was probably drinking, the hair of the dog from the night before, and that came up, and of course I was in college, so I had the kegerator, so I was just like, this is awesome. I talked to my older brother who had I don't know if you remember Mayata bikes.
Oh yeah,
Mayatas
yeah.
out of Japan. They were well made and everything, and was a 710, and I'll never forget. And I said, can I take that thing for a ride? I mean, I was hooked. And that's what started it. And then I realized
It's so weird that you just kind of found it solo by that, like that.
Had no direction. I went out and bought the one model up for my brother. It was a 912. It was 12-speed. Six in the back.
6 rear. Yeah. All right.
And it was a 1984, and I bought it for $482.
So what was the first totally legit racing bike? Was it that one?
I would say that one was, because it was Shimano 600, which is equivalent to El Tegra now.
Yeah.
And I did my first, within 6 months, I did my first Tuesday night series.
Oh, shit. Wow.
And that was a time trial, which I still have the ribbon with your sister's
name
writing on the back.
Writing on it.
Yeah.
Mine was a Peugeot, and I
PX10?
It was... Most of them were just a white, but mine was like a pale blue. I still want to find it, and it had orange bar tape to match the orange decals on it. And if I could find that bike today, I don't know why, I would snatch it up in a minute.
Put it with the other 50 in there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I had such memories of that. And then I rode that for quite a while. That was my first big bike. What was the nicest bike you've had then, and how does it compare to
back then?
Yeah, throughout your life up until then. What before the one you're on now? What was the nicest one you had, and how would you compare the two?
I had, and there's a long story behind it, and I won't torture you with that. I had was from England. He actually used to produce the British teams. And he started producing custom bikes, and then he had a production line. So maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, when frames were 1 centimeter increments, and he had it. And I still have paper somewhere buried, moved, of all his bikes from 47 centimeter up to 65.
Shit.
Angles and wheelbase and all that.
I remember going from 58, and that was a fit difference.
Yeah.
Shit, now where it's medium, large, extra large.
Yeah, and just put a big long stem or shorten the stem up. And so, it was a Dave Moulton Fuso. I started working at a bike shop, Two Wheel Trans at the time, so no longer around. It was a pro high-end. The owner, Steve, did the Olympic trial. Jim Ingram of Campanolo USA, and he was involved. I was totally immersed in top lines. Campy C record.
Okay.
Number C.
Okay. Yeah.
Around the wheels and stuff, and that was our first aero type of cage, if you think about it.
Yeah.
If you remember the C records.
Oh yeah.
I did not have Delta.
I did for a little. with that I bought from Mark. From him, I traded him for a mountain bike, and they were cool looking.
Yeah. And they
didn't grab very well.
No, that
for
was
all you disc brake whiners right now, you should have ridden a bike with C records. You learn to brake early and just
yeah.
Then if you really had an emergency stop, you just found another way. Yeah. Exactly.
But they were better than Medora.
The cork.
Yeah.
With the cork pads. Yeah. So for those of you listening to the show who don't know what the hell we're talking about, we are talking that in some ways bike changes over the years. Are there any things was we know that there are a lot that was worse then. For example, gearing 42 21.
We look like when we did that, we look like we're doing the disco dance,
Yeah, we're just swerving back and forth. But you know what? And then I'll look at classic photos I watched on GCN. They had a classic video of La Vie Claire, and pro cyclists back then had bigger upper bodies. They had arms. They had muscles to their arms because they had to wrestle the bike up those hills in these lower cadences. And I'm just assuming that's the cause for it.
Yeah, I think. Plus, I think when people started finding out that the lighter you are, the faster you're up a hill.
Yeah,
type of thing. But it was a different beast without a doubt.
Yeah. The materials. If steel was as light as carbon now, would you ride it?
I don't know. I do like the feel of steel, but carbon. My BMC. People always talk about it's very compliant and blah blah blah, but that is probably one of the most comfortable, the most stable descending bike.
Yeah.
My Fuso was right there. That was nothing had touched that, and I had 2 carbon bikes prior to, or after my Fuso, but this BMC Team Machine was, to me, it fits me well.
Yeah.
It handles well. To have a steel bike do that, I don't know, maybe that Fuso was pretty close to that, but boy, it was, with race wheels, it was like 19.5 pounds.
Yeah.
So as opposed to 14.
Yeah. It would be so interesting to see what the steel technology is like out there now, because it's all just artisan things. I'm looking at, like Battillon is now just, all they do is make custom one-off steel bikes. But I just don't. It's not fair. It's again comparing apples and oranges almost to that point.
Yeah, I think. Excuse me. I think ride quality is what I'm really after. But outside of ride quality, I think weight is a big deal.
Yeah, I know.
It's huge.
I'm living that law.
And it blew me away when disc brakes came out and people were spending all this money for an 18-pound disc brake bike, and he's like, brake stops better, and I'm like, that's not, when I'm racing, that's usually not.
Bike's not made to stop.
No,
bike's made to go.
If I'm stopping, I'm in a bad situation. And I understand that in the bike industry, it's designed for the weekend warriors and not for people like you and I. So
yeah, other things that keep popping into my head. The year that down tube shifting went away to STI shifting. Which is what we all have now. If you don't know what STI is, that means you're young, and it's just how you normally shift. We're using your brake levers. We had to take our hands off the bars and put them maybe a third of the way down our down tube and adjust the levers. And if you were in between gears, you had to learn to finesse how to get your actual shift lever perfectly into gear, or other people would be yelling at you in the peloton. And I guess
you'd hear, grind me a pound.
In between gears. And I think that is why our generation has such a hard time with things like disc brakes, because they're so freaking noisy. And all the noises that a lot of these current bikes are making. Carbon's the loudest material in the world.
Huge.
You have a smallest problem in your bike, and carbon, it just rings out. It's like the hills are alive with the sound of your bike. And I hate that. And so I just grew up thinking that bikes are supposed to be completely silent if they're working properly.
It is. Yeah, I think that's a point a lot of people don't realize. I mean, you ride tubulars and stuff. There's a certain sound to tubulars on pavement, and it is like sings like the angels.
Yeah,
or singing or something like that.
And that was such a big change, and I was late to it. I remember because I didn't have the money, so I rode down tube shifters into the 90s. Well into the 90s because I just didn't have it. I didn't have the money to go out and shell out for new gear. And I remember one time looking at my now wife saying, I'm getting my ass handed to me in crits because even just reaching down that, short amount of time to reach down and shift, I'm losing 1 to 2 seconds of reaction time. And she's like, really? Really? You don't
if you're
just
not
think
there,
you could train harder? I'm like, no, I can't. I want new stuff.
But that's a good point. I mean, there's, for me, I never went to SIS or index shifting down tube.
Yeah.
One, I was
either.
running Campy, and that was the worst index down tube shifting system.
Talk about noise. Every time you shifted,
bam,
crack, crack in between gears. Yeah, it sounded like you were breaking your bike.
So I was riding, I had Campy retro friction. There was Simplex that
Yeah.
On down tube shifters, and they were they were sweet.
That's all I rode.
Quiet, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I never had a problem once I got retro friction, like trying to hit that sweet spot so there wasn't grinding.
No.
It was just, because it was so easy to move.
Yeah.
The old shifters were a nylon, basically friction that you had to tighten down a D-ring onto that.
Yeah.
There
were times I'd reach over and have to tighten it a little bit of a screw, just because it was like, oh, I'm slipping gears.
The retro, action type shifting was great.
Yeah.
But I was riding with a guy who's one of the first guys in town who had the new Campy 8-speed ergo levers.
Oh, yeah.
And we were climbing up this hill, and I thought, I got to shift to a lower gear. I had to sit down, hit my lever, and he's standing. He goes, click, and he gained a half a wheel. And I thought, that's it. That's a big deal.
At full attack.
Yeah.
That's a bike length, at least.
Yeah,
a bike length.
Even in a pack.
Yeah.
If we weren't going hard, but just a matter of me sitting down and shifting took a fraction of a second, and he's in front. So in essence, I have to kind of like make up that little ground, right?
Yeah.
You do that not just in hills, like your sprints, crits. All we did in the crit is like, oh shit, too big of a gear. Somebody crashes in front of you. You don't get to hit a button.
No, you just grind it out.
You grind it out. Everybody's like,
yeah.
You're pooping out muscles the next morning.
You hear your knees 3 towns away. How about the changes? And I'm doing this out of spite because Sam's not here. Positioning. He constantly gives you shit about the fact that how you ride is so stretched out. I remember it was you got your bike, you came home, you got a fit positioning from a coach, and then you took your stem and you just dropped it all the way down.
Yeah, I'll go on mine, but how did you get fit?
We had an old Velo News copy of an article that Bernard Hinault described using his fitting techniques. And we did have it's funny seeing guys like Sam using the plumb bob off your knee in terms of fore aft. We had the rule that if you are in the drops on a trainer or something, even riding, and you look straight down, and if your hub is in front of the stem, if you're looking straight down and you see the hub in front of the stem, if you can close off that hub by placing 2 fingers in front of your stem, you're pretty close to where you need to be. Saddle height, we always did the classic bring it down, or pedal a little bit and then bring your foot exactly down to straight up and down. And if you could lock your knee out, but it would shove the pedal forward, you were pretty close there too. Yeah. That was how we did it all. And we did that with every bike. It was more of an eyeball kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I didn't have anybody, so mine was all reading, and I got the Eddie B book.
Yeah.
About racing, and one of the things that fitting was figuring out ideally 90, your seat height should be at 97, 96% of your leg extension.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
there was, I
Yeah.
think if there was a formula, somehow I actually took the time to do that. and mine was, talking about your front hub, what you would do is right on your hoods it was your drops.
Yeah.
Because our drops are deeper, way deeper back then.
Yeah.
And that's where you rode most of the time was in your drops.
Yeah.
The hoods weren't, because when we got bikes, we had cables going over the top of your
Exactly.
hoods, so you didn't put your hands there.
Big old
It
rabbit
was
ears.
like,
Yeah,
you
you had
usually
to-
put them in the drops.
Yeah.
You did that for climbing or changing position.
Yeah.
So if you're down in your drops and you look down, ideally a stem length was ideal when you couldn't see the hub.
Yeah.
And that's after
You
you're on
never
the
wanted
trainer.
it behind your bars.
If
If
you-
it was behind your bars, you were way too short.
No, if the hub is behind your bars, you're too stretched out. If it's in front, you're too short.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
okay. Yeah.
You're looking. You needed your hands out a little bit.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's
Yeah.
how I did it. And I'm just reading books.
Yeah.
And then looking in the mirror and then watching, John Tesh produced stuff.
Yeah.
And
Do
so-
you finding yourself? Well, position is still a little old. What's always worked, or is that because if you were to switch, it would probably break your body?
Or this last weekend, and it's like I'm writing yourself on TV or whatever you're doing, chasing. You get yourself in a position you don't normally. And I don't do this as a game. I don't get on these trainers as a game. I'm doing this actually riding on the road.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I need to keep it as close to the road as possible. I don't want the news trainer button to shift because
No.
I'm not going to have that on the road.
No, I agree.
I
agree.
understand what it's for, but that's not for me.
Yeah.
So, so I'm thinking, watching my power as I'm changing my position, watching the TV, and I'm more comfortable, and it's easier. Develop probably because I developed. Probably let me know.
Yeah.
That years of doing this, I'm more efficient this way, and I am naturally a person, so I can get down lower too. But I know that I can't crank out the watts. Every trainer I've had, any type of power, I even had somebody gave me a power tap wheel.
Yeah.
And my numbers are not good. Yeah.
So you intentionally stay that low for those reasons.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something that I have to do. I think because we didn't have all that equipment. So for me to survive of bridging that gap,
Yeah.
I got down lower and I was just being, it's just kind of something organically came about.
Yeah. Okay. So we have seen change. We've seen teams change. What was the best? What was the worst? For example, there's some things that pop into my head in terms of this is
He's different. Now, getting back to my position, I don't think everybody would benefit what I benefit from my position.
Yeah.
And we all look as humans. I think we have a tendency they want that silver bullet. That, hey, that Lance guy spins a lot.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't work
everybody
for everybody.
changed their cadence immediately after
Whoever
that.
wins, that's what they're going to do. Marginal gains, I'm going to spend all this money. I'm going to buy a Pinarello.
Yeah.
I'm going to do, and I'm going to win. And it doesn't work for everybody.
And I remember the first when chain waxing came out. That was that huge thing.
Yeah.
Everything's about a watt here and a watt there and all that sort of thing. I didn't like that mentality. I mean, because it became what you could spend money on.
Yeah.
And I miss kind of sometimes just the simplicity of just riding, just I miss the tactical element of it. The Cipollini lead out years were awesome years, but they did become fairly formulaic, where we didn't have a whole lot of that classic. And it was very much like the Froome years or the Lance years, where it almost became a given thing. You just see a team at the front busting balls and whittling it down and then taking the win. And those were boring years to me.
I think that's getting back to my point. Is the transition is like, how do you, even in the local the U.S. Crit scene, how do you battle Legion?
Yeah,
you start your own train next to them, and that came off of like in Cieco when they were doing that for Cipollini.
Yeah,
is everybody else is like all of a sudden you don't sit behind them, you create your own.
Yeah,
you get next to them, and that messes them up.
Yeah, because
the rotation or however they're going to pull off, the wind's coming to the left. You start your train to the right of them, they can't pull off, right? Yeah. That's when it gets exciting if there's like a dominant period. I think so.
Yeah. And are we ever going to see the patron of the peloton anymore, or do you think that is just a thing of the past where we had one rider who could, Bernard Hinault could go to the front of the peloton and say, "My guys are tired. Don't you dare attack until we get to the last 50K of the stage."
Yeah. I don't know. It may come around. I think Fabian Cancellara was probably the last known one. I mean, he could say, conditions are bad. No one's riding.
Really,
we're rolling in.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna find somebody like that. I think eventually things do go in a cycle.
Let me see here. Fashion styles, man. We started with hairnets. The helmet revolution alone has gone miles. I'm still trying to find the perfect helmet for me. I haven't found it yet, and I've been looking for my entire life. I wrote an article just today for Cycling Weekly talking about the fact that there were some helmets in the days that resembled basically like a reflective salad bowl that you would just put on the top of your head.
And you owned one?
No, my first helmet it was a Bell, and it was terrible. And then we went to the Broncales, which was just a small layer of plastic with very, very poor ventilation, if any. It was a hockey helmet.
Yeah.
And then my dad bought the Bell V1 Pro that was a huge, thick version that tried to look like a hairnet.
Hairnet, yep.
And then fortunately, I got involved with Giro as a on a prototype kind of level, and had those for a while with the Lycra covers.
And those were good. That started it all.
It did. I called Giro the OG of helmet design. And you guys don't know how good you got it now. Yes, I have a constant sweat problem, and if somebody's found the perfect sweat solution I'm not wearing a fucking headband, and I'm not wearing a stupid little Marco Pantani pirate hat on my head, and I'm not wearing a cap. So tell me if you found that perfect one, because I haven't found something that ventilates well. It just runs straight into my glasses. All my sweat does. Makes me mad. All these years, all this technology, and they still haven't figured that out. Kits. Did you ever have a wool jersey?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had several.
Really? Mm-hmm. My wool jerseys were primarily long sleeves.
I had one short. My original one was a green and black one made by Pace, I think it was.
Okay.
Do you remember Pace?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it only had 2 pockets. It was a race jersey. And then I bought when Bridgestone was kind of bucking the system back in the 90s when things started getting crazy.
They went
bikes.
Retro, which is
huge.
Hilarious. Yeah.
And I had a wool, believe it or not, a Belgian national team jersey. It was made out of wool. And so it had the Belgian colors, and then it was all blue. And it was all wool, long sleeve with Brazilian nut. They used the shell of the nut for buttons, and it had buttons on the side. It was like a turtle.
Oh, my God.
They were so cool. And a moth's got to it.
Oh.
That was one of the coolest jerseys I ever had. But anyway.
I over time I miss skin suits with proper collars. I don't like exposing my collarbone these days. I feel like weird in the new skin suits where it's got
like
a lower
deep
neck.
V-neck.
Yeah, I feel like it. I'm just like there might be some hair poking out. I don't want to do that. Does anything top the 1980s, 90s La Vie Claire in your opinion as far as pro team kits?
That was kind of, I think, some of their uniqueness to me was that nobody had even thought of something like that.
The Mondrian was above and beyond. Yeah.
As in style, I like Fossil Botolo back in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was very simple.
Blue and gray and white.
White,
Yeah.
And then it was Super Conflicts in the 80s.
Yeah.
It was a green with a white panel
Love
across
that kit.
those two.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Claude Criquelion with his Hitachi kit, which was bright orange, which was really an eye catcher. In fact, we designed a team kit very similar to it back in the day. Yeah, where our beers are empty, so I can't say who came up behind the design of it. But
do you want another?
I do.
Okay.
But I'm going to have to talk the whole time while you reach over there and do that. There were, and the Renault, the classic Renault kit, which was when I first got into the sport. And for those of you who are going, wow, these guys are old, look up some of these old designs and stuff like that they used to do back in the day. Because the styles, and in fact, those Packfiller mugs I made that are on the website, ching, are very much, that's more than enough, man. Are very much that they're based off of those old retro jerseys, and they were just, it was a beautiful thing back in the day.
Well, I have something to say about that, and that is the cut of the jerseys.
Yeah.
Do you remember all of them? We used to have, well, you had the jerseys, you would come down halfway down your butt.
If you had anything in your pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even then, they were cut longer than now. They're up tight.
Yeah.
They're really tight.
Yeah.
And good race jersey, if you have pockets, if you don't have open shoulders, which you probably don't, you probably struggle to get stuff out of your pockets.
Do to this day. And if it's long into a ride, reaching into a back pocket, you hear noises coming from me.
Dad noises.
God, I can't reach my own food. I'm going to starve to death. If somebody calls me, I'm like,
I can't.
Leave a message. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is short length.
Yeah.
So there was, when I got into it, it was like kind of where it's at now. And then it got really long, like almost like right above your knee.
See, I like them long.
Yeah. So if you look like an 87, you start looking at 87 Tour de France. That was one of the great ones with Stephen Roach.
Stephen Roach, yeah.
Yeah, won that one. Hey, you interviewed him way back in the day.
Number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they started creeping up. And then I think it was probably about 5 years ago, I'm like, those are getting kind of short. And then now they're starting to come back down.
Yeah. It's like basketball shorts.
Yeah.
Remember when the days when basketball shorts were like these huge, like they were running up and down the court in like tents.
Yeah.
It was like somebody's been shopping at the Big and Tall, and like Big and Tall.
Just put a belt in and cinch it up.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, moving on. Real racing, like amateur racing. And this is going to sound like, I know this show sounds like a bunch of old guys longing for the old years, but we had races all the time, almost every weekend. And we talk about this on the show. We had fields that were big. I mean, I remember going to Milwaukee and doing Super Week with fields over 200 riders. Races now are struggling to survive, sending out messages of cancellation because their registration numbers are so low. On that note, how often did you pre-register as opposed to just going to the race and signing up?
Back then?
Yeah.
You had to, or you didn't race because there wasn't a slot. I mean, you had field sizes.
Sure. That's true. That's true.
When I got started, Volunteer Park, my very first crit was Volunteer Park in 87, I think it was. I mean, I did road races and time trials prior to that, so that was April of 87, I think it was. There was 2 fields of Cat 4 at 75 people, and if you didn't register, you weren't getting in.
So you couldn't walk up to the venue.
That's 150 Cat 4s.
Wow.
And, you just raced 2 different races. And they had, if you think the races started at 8 and didn't finish till like 4 because there was 2 Cat 3s, I think there was. Junior fields, too. If you didn't register, you weren't getting in.
Yeah. Our weeknight races would have 40, 50 juniors.
Easy.
Yeah. And I just, we're waxing sentimental about this, but I just want the listener to know that this was something that happened, and it needs to be something that could potentially happen again, because we're losing. We're missing out. The sport is fading away into obscurity. And that's what makes me sad. I mean, prizes. Every race gave away a bottle and or a T-shirt if you signed up for a race. If you pre-registered for a race, you'd get that, and nowadays it's people are, sad that they don't get a swag bag or something like that. But I mean, I remember I still do probably somewhere in this house, God knows, bottles from races. And it was just a cool thing. And it was what a great advertising concept for that race to get people to go, hey, what's that one? Well, when is it? And they go out. Preems and crits.
Massive.
Cash, where people pass around the hat, stuff like that. In some of the bigger races.
Preems would be 100 plus.
Yeah.
For like even Cat 3 races.
Yeah.
You would see that.
And a Fonda was called a Century. God damn it. And it was the same damn thing. It was getting on your bike, riding for either a metric or a non-metric Century, and having food stops.
Yep.
And now people are, I'm going to sound like a grumpy old asshole because it's Halloween, and I don't think you should trick or treat over the age of, if you can drive yourself, you shouldn't be trick or treating. But there is no difference, except people are taking Fondos so much more seriously. It's like, no, you're doing a Century. It's just relax. It's not a bike race. I don't consider it a bike race, and I'm sure some people are angry at me for saying that.
But once you time it, because then
it becomes,
Centuries,
I guess, competitive. Yeah.
I think locally there's like the Rotary Club has a spring one.
Yeah.
And it's not timed. And it became, for those, I never did one. Did you ever do that when you were racing?
I did the Autumn Century. With my family. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was towards the end of the year. So
yeah.
You weren't training. You weren't.
Oh, no. We just ran out and rode. Yeah. It was a training ride.
Yeah. And it was not only that, I mean, I looked at those not, with arrogance or snobbery. It was like, no, let those people who enjoy riding bikes, let them ride bikes. They don't need somebody all decked out and slamming it and running up.
Yeah.
They don't. That's their event.
That
Ours was
for tourists.
Yeah,
and that's not a term of I'm demeaning somebody by calling them a tourist.
No, and that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah,
and I look at like the Spirit of Gravel basically is that same mentality. It's like we just want to go out and have fun.
Yeah. Oh,
and
gravel races are pretty brutal. But
they are now.
Yeah.
But that's not the original part of
concept.
it was like people are wearing suits and ties, like a crit. Not crit, excuse me.
Cross.
Cyclocross. Yeah. People are going out and having just a blast. And that's excellent.
Yeah.
And they don't need a bunch of us who want to like smash each other into the ground and run them to the ground. That's intimidating. So I think we need to stay clear of that.
Speaking of which, did you ever do any of the bizarre design formats of races? I remember Australian handicaps.
Never did. No.
Which was an interesting design. For those of you who don't know what that is, it was they would handicap your starting time. So everybody was in the same race together. Every single category. It was one race. But they would start some of the slower categories earlier. You'd get a 5, 6, 10-minute advantage. And then the pros 1-2s are starting 30 minutes behind everybody, and first person across the line wins.
Yeah.
And so you're just going, you can't slow down. And I remember racing at 3 of those style of races in my day. And one where the pros 1-2s got so cocky that a woman who started basically by herself won the race. She didn't know she won. She just got to the finish. She's going, why hasn't anybody caught me yet? And she won it. I was on one on a racetrack in Portland, and it was the biggest bloodbath I've ever been in my entire life. Because once the fields caught each other, it was this huge, gigantic group of people at all different levels of racing.
Recipe for disaster.
And there was a crash in front of me that was so. Actually, at one point, the race cars came out onto the course because they thought they could warm up, and a couple of the race cars went into the infield and spun out because instead of killing us. Yeah, this is fucking racing in the 80s. And the crash in the pack was so bad that I remember closing my eyes and making it through somehow. And when I opened my eyes, I looked down at my lap, and I am not exaggerating, there was a human tooth in my lap, and it wasn't mine. Mm-hmm. Somebody's tooth broke off and was in my lap.
Say, I saved
Yeah,
that
exactly.
spine.
Can I get that back? Yeah, just absolutely lunacy. We had you'd go across the state to race a single day time trial. There was one called the Hell of the East.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Great, and it
And
over
cobblestones.
brick cobbles. Yeah, and it was just a 1 day race. This is a time trial. I love that race.
But and there's usually a crit or something
the next
too.
day
Yeah.
in another town.
Yeah.
That was a completely separate race too.
Yeah.
In fact, the Port Townsend Criterium was always
Yep.
after that. And we would always go over, we'd race the track on Fridays. Friday nights, we'd race the track. Saturday, we would do the Hell of the East. And then Sunday, we'd do Port Townsend. You'd get 3 races in. And it wasn't a stage race. So you used every day. If you had a bad day, fuck it, there's tomorrow.
Yeah. Kind of like Stupid
We had
Week.
it better. Yeah, stupid. Super Week was a learning experience that you had to go to. It was, 3 weeks of racing. Every day was an individual race. And it was just absolute lunacy. Most of them criteriums. Most of them absolutely high speed, just out,
Packs of 100 plus.
Yeah. I remember coming around a course, racing 1-2s in Super Week and hearing, $300 preem lap, $300 preem lap, and there were 99 laps to go, and which means I'm in the red, and there's still 99 laps to go. Just going, I'm not going to live. Just beautiful racing, racing. Advances in the sport that worked. We can't talk about advances in the sport without, and this is how old we are, the impact the internet has had upon how our sport has changed. Race coverage, race information. We talked about the fact that we learned about fit by our magazines. I had Velo News and Winning. Did you have anything other than that?
No.
I did get Cycle Sport for a while.
I did.
But that was in the 90s.
Yes, that was
Late
in the 90s. But in the 80s and early 90s, it was those two. Winning was for the pictures.
Yeah.
Velo News for the reporting.
Yeah. Because Velo News was on papers, on
Yeah,
newspaper
and it was
stock.
bi-monthly. So you would, if Paris-Roubaix, we would not know in the 80s. We didn't know who won Paris-Roubaix until Velo News came out.
Yeah. 2 to 3 weeks
Yeah.
after the race.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's just, now I look back, it's like, how there had to have been another source.
And-
Unless you had an uncle in Belgium that you could call long
Yeah.
distance. That's about it.
Or somebody who sent you the pinks from Italy or something like that. The fact that we had to wait for a visual coverage of it until the producers of CBS Sports got everything dialed in and John Tesh nailed down the soundtrack.
Mix it.
Yeah, and they all had those big, long gray, not brown raincoats on.
Trench coats. Yeah. That's crazy.
And Phil Liggett was young.
Well, I was thinking there was a period there we thought we were advancing, and that was in 1990, where there was Velo Hotline. There was a 1-900 number. Velo Hotline, not hot.
Yeah,
it wasn't. It was. What are you wearing?
I misdialed. Oh shit!
Jesus. That was $3 right there.
Coco wants to know what I'm wearing, and all I want are Flanders results.
Yeah, that's right. But we joke about it. We'd have, because it cost so much, and we were bike racers.
Yeah.
We had a chain of people that every weekend it was a race. We'd had, it's your turn to call. You get Flanders. You get, and it would always, welcome to Velo Hotline.
Yeah.
Today's race
Oh
was
my God.
hit Nieuwsblad. It was a stormy day. And I'm like, I don't care about the weather. Just what was 1, 2, 3.
No shit.
Yeah, and they would go through, and then you'd get your results, and then we had a chain of people. I'd call so and so, and they would call these people, and so
Yeah.
that's
It's like
how
a
we
prayer
know.
chain,
Yeah,
like the old ladies.
Screw Velo News. We had our own sources.
We got immediate.
We had Velo Hotline.
Oh my God! I don't think I knew about I don't think
yeah.
I knew when the races happened until Winning or Velo News came. I mean, I really am trying to reflect back upon the time and go, did I always know when Paris-Roubaix occurred? I don't think I did. I think I just knew it until the magazine came to my doorstep. And it's like, oh, it must have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't pay enough attention to it. Being able to communicate through the internet. GPS, holy shit. What a game changer that was.
Huge.
That we would rely upon these tiny little Avocet computers on our dash, that because of two magnets on your forks and your wheel would tell you your speed, your distance, and your time.
And if you got a wheel change on your front wheel, you would lose your sensor.
Yeah. And you
so
wouldn't have anything.
You wouldn't have anything.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to back up. Nothing recorded it. It was just that time at that moment.
Yeah. You had to hit the stop button and you'd know your time in a
running
time trial. Yeah. Total time. You wouldn't know average speed or anything like that. And now being able to not only, get that, but Strava, I think my driveway might even be a route or a segment for shit's sake, and that stuff is just unbelievable. And bringing power into that equation is so unbelievable because going beyond what we had for perceived effort, you would do your rides based upon what do I think out of a scale of 1 to 10 is a 7? That's my time trial pace. And so I ride at a 7 to 7.5 perceived effort. And I know for a fact that because of pain thresholds, 2 people probably had a different 7.5 perceived effort. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have the ability to track that in terms of actual wattage. And I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I think I was, again, thinking about it again while I was sitting on the trainer. We didn't have that perception. And going back to that director who was talking about how they don't use FTP for Jumbo-Visma anymore.
Yeah, we're now at a completely different phase where that's going away.
And he says any seasoned rider knows they don't need that number to say, oh, I'm at 325. They know what
325
Yeah, you do it long enough that they know what it is.
So we've gone back.
Yeah,
in essence.
And I think it's a good thing, but then for me personally, the last computer I put on my bike was in 1990. It was a state championship, and you probably heard this story 100 times. It was a state championship road race, massive crash.
It was a brutal race.
I was number 2 to go down. The guy overlapped a wheel trying to put a water bottle in. It was pissing down rain. Went down. I went over the top, and there's like 50 guys spread across the road. And I got up, got a wheel change, and I looked, as I'm riding, I look down, and I see this red Avocet, and I think, oh, that's my computer. I picked it. It was a black screen, but I spent time. I was a little concussed. I finally figured it out. And I put it on, and I'm riding, and it's like, I just couldn't afford a new one.
Yeah.
They were like $40. That's a new tubular, which I needed to replace because it got sliced by the guy's chainring that I went T-boned. So then all of a sudden I was thinking, that for me mentally, I remember in crits looking down, I'm like, we're doing 29, 30 miles an hour, and we're only a quarter of the way in.
Yeah.
I started playing mind games.
Oh, is that why you took it off your bars?
That's why I have never put them on my bars since then, because then I just start hitting this panic button. It's like all of a sudden it's like, what the heck? I can't sustain this.
Yeah.
But if you don't know that information, it's like, I just have to. You have to do what you have to do.
That's a great way to put it.
But not everybody operates that way. Some people panic because they don't know where they're at.
They don't see their watts or
There's
whatever.
There's just a different style. Like my dad, when he was a fighter pilot, he said there's 2 types of pilots. There's the seat of your pants and the instrument guys.
Yeah.
And the guys that do instrument are really good in some situations, and then sometimes they get bogged down and the seat of the fly on the seat of your pants. Those guys have the advantage.
Yeah.
So it's just how you operate as a human.
That's a great point. This last year, I have ridden with heart rate, obviously, for very obvious reasons.
And good reasons.
Well, but I've started actually recently, because I'm feeling okay about things, that I now don't want it on my computer screen, because I look down and I'll go and, I'm doing whatever it might be. This is a high number. And then one of you fuckers goes fast, and I'm like, I'm at a higher number. I obviously can't go any harder.
Yeah.
And so I like it when I'm training, but I don't like it when I want to go fast, because if I see that number and like you're saying, I see a high number, I can't go any harder.
Yeah.
And
shut down. Yeah.
And I almost want to switch out watts in some situations, because I'll look down and I'll go, wow, 500 watts. I can't hold this for very long.
Well, I've heard a lot of pros will not put that in a race.
Yeah.
They will not look at their watts.
Yeah. You almost want a simplistic screen. I would like a screen that shows me speed, time and miles. You know, especially time when you're in a timed crit. I want to know how many minutes are left. I don't want to have to wait to go around the finish line and see the clock and, oh shit, I forgot to see the clock. You know, how many laps do you think are left or something? How much longer do I actually have to do this? You know, those types of, oops, that last part wasn't supposed to. So it's been just an interesting growth period. Is there anything you want back?
Yeah, and that I don't know how it's going to happen, but the excitement of road cycling, where we had two fields of 75 at Cat 4s, and I think, thinking about that, I think, you know, the average guy could spend $400 on a road bike.
You're not going to get
and
that.
let's say even with advancing with inflation and everything, let's say $2,000. I mean, that was a decent today's $2,000.
Yeah, you could take today's $2,000 and buy an entry level 105 race bike.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's not happening.
No,
because of technology and everything. That's got to kill it. And I know the bike industry. I was going to read an article before we got here, but I didn't have time. But they're hurting big time. And I think not 100%, but some of it is that we've made it so advanced. Yes, it is an improvement. I mean, I'll even say disc brakes. Yes, they stop better and everything. But
you heard it.
You know, yeah. But are they necessary?
A Halloween miracle.
I mean, electronic shifting. Yes, it performs, and everybody tells me, "Oh, I'll never go back," and I understand that.
I do too.
But those two things will not make you win or lose a race.
I agree.
And
some people will disagree, but I agree.
Well, between a mechanical. It would be hard to convince me in a mechanical shifting that you could win a race from that.
No.
The way our clusters are so close together anyway, a mechanical is just like snap. My SRAM Red 11-speed, I don't miss a shift. It's like I don't even think about shifting. I just do it. It's, you know, you do it long enough. It's not like I need to shift now. That's not the process.
No,
you're just riding. It's click, and it never misses. Yeah. And but I think on disc brakes, maybe in the rain, without a doubt, you could lose a race if you had carbon wheels and rim brakes.
But people would hear you everywhere you are because what the sound disc brakes make in the rain. Oh my God! Every race, I mean, I can't watch cross.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. Yeah,
sounds like people are just stepping on weasels.
Yeah, stepping on weasels.
I miss. If there's anything I would want back, it would be mandatory race promotion for every club. And I know that's a pain in the ass. And if you don't put on a race, you pay an unattached rider fee. I think we got to do that. I think that's the only thing that's going to help us. I think people have to put on, even if they are, hey, we're going to put on a time trial, but you only can pedal with your left leg, and it is on a Tuesday at 11 o'clock at night. Congratulations. you found a loophole, but you still had to put on a race. I think that's the only thing that's going to save us.
I would agree on the point that there's a lot of skin in the game. Makes people, you know, if you have to do that, then you're serious about bike racing.
Yeah.
Just clubs. As a promoter.
Just clubs.
Yeah, just clubs. Yeah. But as a promoter, I mean, it's just insurance, with all the things. God, that's the thing that killed it.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Yeah.
It's
our litigious society.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you're really, really glad is gone? How much time do we have?
Yes. I think it's the aero helmets with the little shields.
Yeah, those aren't very old.
No.
The mushroom heads.
Yeah. They had all those clip-on. Giro had their little arrow. That was dumb. Yeah. And I hope this stupid whatever windsock specialized. There was some stuff. Yeah. And that's recent. I just want that to go away because it just doesn't make sense. And I'm sure they're fast, whatever. But here's something I want to see go away is now, as much as I love time trials, I think time trials are out of control.
In terms of financial requirements?
Yeah, bikes.
So Mercs, you want Mercs?
I wish it wasn't, but I think that's where you have to go. Yeah. And strangely enough, I don't know if you follow. Got a drink.
Oh,
Turd to Bloom.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ace.
Guys keeping bike racing going in our
That's
state.
the biggest. That's going to be huge. He's trying to draw in national teams now.
Yeah.
And so now there's 5 stages in 4 days.
Yeah.
One of the things is to draw those people in on the TT. He said he was doing Merck style. I might have to say, bring your TT, bike.
Lunacy.
Yeah. But that's only for the Pro 1 too. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's those smaller teams that are probably you have to bring 2 bikes. And it just becomes, his logic is a team's coming and everybody brings their bike and wheels. That's enough to haul, not 2 bikes and more wheels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kudos to him for really trying to put this and thinking it through. And he does. He puts it to the people. But I think you're looking at, and I love time trialing, but you start looking at how technical and these, the bars that are made, with 3D printing that are formed to each person.
Yeah.
And if you're off now by a little bit, you
lose 30 seconds.
Yeah, my time trial bike that's in your
hanging
right
in that room. Yeah.
that is like outdated. That's 10 years old. That thing's was better than a regular road bikes putting.
And that's all I'm doing. I'm the guy who's just clamping on bars and
how
riding his
successful
road
have
bike.
you been against people with TT?
Suck donkey balls.
You can't do it.
Yeah,
so therefore I think it needs to go away.
And they never will.
Yeah, and you start seeing these guys,
especially with the triathlon game, where you've got a lot of riders who that's their primary bike, but then they use that, and they'll transfer over and they'll do a road race, and they just have a really nice high-end aero bike. Nothing against that. I can't believe I'm actually being nice to triathletes right now.
I think triathletes, they should. They can go wild on that TT because that is very important to their sport. But I think road racing, I think we lost. You think the origin of time trial was just what you had.
Yeah.
And then it started in the 80s, started going crazy.
Yeah.
And then it just went apeshit crazy.
It's not the race of truth anymore. It's the race of financial
exactly.
truth. Yeah.
And it's not fun to watch. And it's getting to a dangerous where what's his name from EF the Swiss rider
Bissinger.
Yeah, he has his head down and he has to have his coach saying 200 meters before the right-hand corner so he can look up. All these, if you look at these guys' position, they're barely even seen.
Yeah.
And how many, what happened to the Swiss rider at...
Stefan Kuhn.
Yeah, Stefan Kuhn.
Oh, my God.
Head down. Everybody's like, jeez.
Yeah.
And that's what Ingel Bernal crashed on, training on that. And then Froome and... Yeah, it's got to stop.
Oh, my God, they all did happen on TT bikes. Yeah.
It's got to stop. I think it's out of control.
That's a great point. Are we better off? What was the best decade of bike racing in your career?
I loved the 80s.
I did too.
It was
late 80s, mid like 84 to 94.
Yeah. Yeah, before we found out the drugs were really happening. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Into the 94.
Yeah.
That was a great Paris-Roubaix.
And we even approached the onset of mountain biking in those years too, which was a pretty cool year.
It was.
A really cool time.
Yep.
Yeah. And people are going to look at gravel right now and say that was a pretty cool time.
Yeah, I
think.
agree.
So, well, there. 2 men waxing sentimental. Final question, Paul. What was the best scary movie you've ever seen? You can't say Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I can't say Chitty Chitty Baby.
No, because you said that already on an earlier show.
Because it is. Scariest movie. I don't know if it's movies, but my high school girlfriend.
Because it's Halloween, we have to do that.
My high school girlfriend liked those type of things. I did not like horror films, or scary films.
Yeah.
And what was it? Night Stalker. It was a series.
Oh, Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Shit.
And I could get into those because they're just goofy enough.
Yeah. Were they pretty campy?
Yeah. Pretty much. You went by the Bible of, in order to stop a zombie, you had to I can't remember, but sew up his lips. And, but, that was good. But I don't know if it's the scariest.
Mine, I gotta go. It's a little more recent, but it's this sci-fi movie called Event Horizon. It was a space movie, and it was they had a ship that could teleport through time, kind of a thing like that, and it accidentally went to hell.
Ooh.
Yeah, like literal hell. And then movie starts where they find the ship, and the ship has not only gone to hell, but the ship is technically alive. It's freaky, man. It's one of those things. Messed me up, man. It messed me up in so many ways, and I probably will watch it tonight. It is Halloween. Actually, my wife says she wants to watch a scary movie, and for her, it's like, opening 5 minutes of The Exorcist, and we were both like, I'm tired, let's go to bed.
Yeah, yawn,
yeah,
fall
exactly.
asleep.
Yeah, so there we go. Two old guys sitting in a bar talking about how the things used to be and how they were better back in the day, but that's our episode for this week. Be sure and subscribe to the podcast and our YouTube channel, everybody. I got to say that because it really helps us, and it's just a quick click for you, and it helps us amazingly, especially with our sponsors. So we promise not to stalk you. Paul, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you, man. This is fun.
I guess we'll just catch everybody next week.
Yeah.